Where creators find purpose and connect. With skills in design and tools to inspire. It's the Just Toronado effect, lifting you higher. Creators, this channel is for you. Building the kingdom in all that you do. From graphics to stories, we're here to ignite. Bringing your vision into the light. Whether you're crafting, designing, or sharing, Toronado is guiding your step, helping you be daring. Faith meets skill, let's make it bold. The Just Toronado effect's here to unfold. So lift up your gifts, bring dreams to life. In this journey together, we rise and thrive. God-given tools, purpose in hand, creating for Him across this land. Just Toronado effect, helping you find your way. With faith as our guide and strength to uplift. It's the Just Toronado effect, helping you use your God-given gifts. We're equipping creators, building up voices, showing the path and offering choices. From online tools to design that speaks, helping you grow in the content you seek. Through every canvas, every story told, we're here to support, making faith bold. For every creator called to create, the Just Toronado effect opens the gates. Beyond just the art, it's the message you send. Faith-driven power right to the end, uplifting each other, building with love, guided by wisdom from above. Join us on this journey, bring your light to the world with each design. His love unfolds. Just Toronado effect, stand tall, stand true, bringing His word in all that you do. With faith as our guide and power to create, the Just Toronado effect opens the gate for creators. I'm here to say, in your gifts you've got a kingdom way. So step up, let's go, make it reflect Christ all day. Welcome to the Just Toronado effect.
Welcome everyone to a special edition of the Just Tornado Effect Show. I am thrilled to have with me tonight on the other side an incredible guest with us today, trial attorney, Yolanda B. And Yolanda isn't just a powerhouse in the legal field. She is a passionate voice, a screaming voice from the wilderness for the Baltimore Ravens football team, and a dedicated advocate for also plant-based living. And since launching her YouTube channel, Ravens Talk with Yolanda, the link is in the description below, so make sure you don't leave tonight without going to subscribe and supporting her. And so since launching her YouTube channel, Ravens Talk with Yolanda, earlier this year, she's been building a vibrant community of football enthusiasts who gather for her live streams and insightful game analysis. And today's theme is Game Day and Grace, where we'll explore the dynamic intersection of faith, perseverance, and the life lessons of football and what healthy living can teach us. So just like in the game, life often comes down to handling pressure. There's going to be fumbles. There's going to be recovering from unexpected fumbles and just adapting on the fly. So as we dive in, just remember, this isn't just an interview. You know, Yolanda made me pull out my half moon tonight. I have it ready. And the half moon teapot just does not come out just for any old body. The half moon set is out. So just know this isn't an interview. This is an opportunity that we're going to spend time together digging deep into what it takes to push forward when the odds seem against you. So grab your favorite seat, get comfortable, and just get ready for a conversation that's filled with inspiration, powerful insights, and maybe even a few surprises that come up. So let's get ready to kick things off and bring in Yolanda. Counselor, welcome.
Good evening. Wow, I don't even know what to say. Good evening, other than thank you, Tora, for having me.
And we have Sandra saying good evening, everyone. Delisa coming in saying good evening. And of course, the Rogue Pod, the indictment man himself.
Hendo from the Rogue Pod.
Hendo from the Rogue Pod. So, it just wouldn't be the same if we didn't have Hendo here with us tonight. So
True.
before we start out, let's give an introduction. I could give it, I could read off a script and say, this is what Yolanda sent me, but let's just give them a little bit of who is Yolanda.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Welcome into the channel. Welcome into the show. Look forward to just dialoguing with you tonight, and feel free. This is interactive, so if you have questions, make sure you ask them. Leave them in the chat. But a little bit about me. I am from Orlando, Florida, and from Florida all my life. Grew up in a city that does not have a football team. Interestingly enough, there's one about an hour away in Tampa, and then there's one a couple hours away in Jacksonville and a little further south in Miami. But for me, growing up, I had a house full of boys. So I've got my dad, I've got a lot of brothers. Whoa, a lot of them. And my mom. And she really didn't watch sports, but I always was intrigued by how fascinated my dad and my brothers were with football and basketball. And so I said, okay, well, I'll have a seat with them and try and figure out what's going on. And of course, I fell in love with the game. So fast forward, I moved here to the DC area in 2015. And when I moved to Baltimore, talk about a city that really embraces football and baseball and just being immersed in the culture here. I loved it. And I said, wow. Then on top of that, the quarterback who was drafted around 2018 is from Florida himself, Lamar Jackson. I said, this is like a excellent pairing. So of course I'm going to be a Baltimore Ravens fan. And ever since then, it's been full steam ahead all the way to the Super Bowl, hopefully this year.
Man, Yolanda got high hopes, and we're going to continue to keep her in prayer. I was telling her, sent her a text message after that Steelers game. My head elder, my chief, as I call him, a diehard Steelers fan. And I said, Yolanda, I'm taking some fire over here for you, but I'm riding with you and your flock. I'm going to ride this thing out, and we're going to see how it goes. So as we get into this, we're going to kind of break this out in segments. So our first segment, just like the game of football, this first segment is faith as the ultimate playbook. So we're going to start with the pregame ritual, because we know each of the teams, they have something different, right? They have a foundation that they've built. So we start out with the question, just as an athlete's warm-up sets the tone for the game, the early chapters of life can also shape our past. So Yolanda, if you look back, what were the defining moments or principles that became your own personal playbook?
So much to unpackage there. Excellent question. My father, he passed away when I was in law school in 2006. And he was a pastor. So, I'm a preacher's daughter. And my mom, retired librarian. The foundations for me were always believe in God, no matter what, because he will never fail. And once you believe in God, believe in yourself. And my parents and my family, very, very close. And just having the knowledge that this world, this life, as we journey through it, we are going to have ups and downs. We are going to have good days, and we're going to have not so good days. But through it all, you persevere. If you make a mistake, that's okay. You pick yourself up. You dust yourself off. You give yourself grace, and you keep going. So those are the pillars that were instilled in me. And then my dad used to always say, Yolanda, always carry joy with you. And I said, okay, I'll carry joy. He said, do you know what I mean? And he said, you carry Jesus first, others second, and yourself last, and you'll be fine.
Wise man. I love that. Wow. And one thing that I can say, Yolanda and I have not met in person, but, through eCam, I feel like I've known Yolanda for years. I feel like I knew her that some sort of way we had to pass each other in Florida at some point. We just had to. And God always has a way and a plan of eventually connecting people together. And through eCam, we connected. And the one thing that I can say that I noticed, right, as I checked the temperature of things, Yolanda does the way that she comes into an interview, the way that she starts her streams, the way that she went to Creator Camp, which just passed at the 1st of October. She left the same way that she came. She holds herself with just such a, it's just, what's the word that I'm looking for? It's just so graceful. And even when Hendo, right? Hendo will say the most off the wall thing. But Yolanda, she was like, I'm not going to let you bait me into this. She will she will reframe what he has said just with her grace. So the one thing that I truly love about you, Yolanda, is you don't waver. You don't move off the mark for anyone, but you meet everybody where they are, but you remain the same. And it's just such a rare trait to find these days, just that true, honest character of who a person truly is. So that's one of the things that I really have admired about you since getting to know you through the eCam family.
Thank you. Very kind. Very kind. And I will say about Tora, when I first started watching Tora's show, the way she manages the show, it takes a lot to produce content. And I did not realize that until I started my own channel. I thought it was just as simple as you open up a laptop, plug in a microphone, and then I could just run my big mouth and we would be okay and then everything would be fine. I didn't realize there was actual planning, preparation, rehearsing, going over your notes. And I tell I call them my family members. I tell my family members on my channel, I stay with a notepad and I'm always taking notes, but just the amount of labor that goes into producing a show. But watching Tora and her spirit of excellence, as the Bible is so clear to us, everything is to be done decently and in order. And when I watch her show every morning, even if I can't chime in too much because I'm commuting to work or I'm getting my day started, just listening to her and her efficacy, it's really inspiring to me as a newbie YouTuber.
Well, the thing is, I believe we started either within the day of each other or within the week, because I picked up on something you had said the other day. You said to Doc, you remember when he created, I remember when the first live that I came into that you were in, he was creating your scenes and putting
Yes.
the raven, putting everything in. And you had made the comment that you had just started shortly within that time, either the day before, a week before, but shortly during that broadcast, when he was making all of those scenes for you. That day before that, I had just signed up with eCam. So,
Wow.
so when you were saying so I'm thinking we
Wow.
started and came into it just about, the same amount of time.
Wow. That's amazing. Truly, truly is.
Well, and then just to expand on, the first question a little bit, was there a mentor or a specific experience that had a significant impact on your journey up to this point?
I would say yes, certainly. When I lost my father in 2006, it was during the summer, and I was in summer school. But not only did I lose my dad, 2.5 months before that, I lost my oldest brother. And within a 2.5 month span, meanwhile, I'm still in law school. It's my first year, and I'm trying to stay focused, stay the course, but I'm grieving at the same time. And I remember even my dad, when he was nearing the end of this life here, he would tell me, don't worry, don't worry. And so those words, because he knew I was nervous, he knew I was scared, and he knew that I knew that the end was coming. But for him on this earth, but I know that I'll see him again. I'll see my brother again. So when I go throughout my day, I'm always conscious to remember the wonderful principles that were taught to me. Be good to yourself. Be good to other people. Smile. Be happy. Do your best. Things like that. And I know they sound cliche and they sound so very basic, but those types of teachings and being able to have my parents to watch and to learn. And then, of course, my brothers, I'm going to add them. They're certainly there as support, and especially even more so now that I'm older. But to answer your question, what shaped my life was losing something that was so dear to me at a time where I did not know how I was going to move on. I didn't know how I was going to pick up the pieces and continue in law school. There were days where I thought, should I take some time off? Should I take a semester off, a year? And that still small voice that you always hear, that you always know, that reassures you that you're on the right course and that you're on the right path, but most importantly, that you're not alone. So no matter what it is you face, always remember that God is with you and you're never alone.
Wow, powerful. And right now we have, I call him my deacon, Apollo. He's 11. He's Delisa, that comes on with us, Delisa's grandson, her and her husband, Wayne. And he's 11. So, if he said, Yolanda, how did those foundational beliefs influence your daily decisions, even up to this point? Because we see the foundation that, your father built, and just the connection that was there with the family and them imparting that wisdom. And often when we're young, we're like, I'm not trying to hear any of this. This isn't going to help me at any point in life, or I can't wait till I'm grown, so young, right? I can't wait till I'm grown. So young Apollo, who's sitting there listening with, with his family now, what do you say to him about how important these foundational beliefs are to carry you through life?
I would tell young Apollo that something that I used to hear my aunt, the matriarch of my family, I would hear her say, keep living, just keep living. And I would say, oh, Auntie, what are you talking about? And I didn't really appreciate or didn't understand those words. But what you are learning now, and what those who are in your life, what they're telling you, what they're showing you through their lives, watch and hold true and hold dear to those. The lessons that you learn, hold them close to you. And when you make a mistake, because you will, we all do, don't quit. Always remember that there is grace to meet you where you are. Keep going. And one final thing, Apollo, like my dad used to tell me, if somebody else has gone before you and they've done it, you can do it too. If no one else has gone before you and if no one else has done it, then you blaze a trail.
Trailblazers. I had a series titled that last year, Trailblazers. Thank you for those powerful words. Just definitely inspiration. Even with the things that we're doing, and like you said, a lot of people, they think we just sit down behind the scene, and just open up the laptop and hit the button. But there's a lot of, for me, a lot of heart and a lot of thought, and not just, hey, Yolanda, let's just pop on. We want to give value because there are people that are going through so many things out there. And there may be a day, when we're feeling like, man, I'm tired, I'm just not feeling it. But then we think about how our testimony is going to help someone else, how the excitement that you bring, for the Ravens when you come on, even in the midst of a loss, you're like, hey, I'm still going to see you on the other side of victory. That encouragement.
Yes.
And it just gives
Yes.
us, it's like once we, even though before you came on, I'm nervous, like this is the first time I've ever done this. And one thing
Yes.
that was said to me, Tori, when the day comes that you don't get nervous, it's time to step away.
It's
It's time
time.
to step away because it's become about you at that point. Good evening, Florence. So glad to see you here with us. And for those of you, if you have questions, if you haven't, just make sure to put them up there and we will gladly answer them for you. And saying amen to that last
Yes.
comment that you had made. Very powerful comment and encouragement. And Florence saying, hello, sisters. Glad to see you, Florence. As we roll
Yes.
into our next segment that I titled The 2-Minute Drill. Thriving under pressure. So in
Yes.
football, and we've seen here lately, we've seen the Ravens thriving under pressure. In football, the 2-minute drill is about making quick, high-stakes decisions. Can you tell us about a time when everything seemed to be on the line for you? And what internal dialogue, or was there a mantra, which I think you've kind of shared with us, that just kept you centered in that critical moment?
I will say for me, sitting for the bar exam. When you are in law school, they tell you, by the time you are ready to take the bar, you will have consumed. Now I know this for my youngsters here, this might be a little bit, I might be dating myself and telling my age, but they said you will have consumed the amount of information of 10 telephone books. Back in the day, telephone books, I know we don't have them now, but telephone books were about this yay thick. Let me move over here. They were thick because they were the Rolodex, so to speak, for everyone in your area. They don't do that now. Thank goodness. But you will have consumed the amount of knowledge or information that's contained in 10 telephone books. And your brain is telling you at some point, I can't take any more. But that's when you have to tell your brain, oh, yes, you can, and yes, you will. And that was probably the most I don't want to say nerve wracking, but it was probably one of the most difficult things for me because, believe it or not, this is fun fact. As much as I love people and as much as I love to talk and to be around people, I don't like crowds. I get very nervous around large crowds. So like stadiums and I know I'm like, how is she a Baltimore Ravens fan and she doesn't like stadiums? I get to watch them from home, but I do plan to go to a game. I'll have my husband with me or somebody. So if I get a little nervous being around a lot of people, but when you sit for the bar exam, you're in a room full of hundreds of people. And I remember feeling like at the time I was going to have a panic attack. Like, oh my goodness, this is a lot of people. What if I have an asthma attack? Like, all the what ifs start swirling through your mind. Really, it's just a trick of the enemy to get you off course. That's all it is. But in the moment, and I was younger, I was a lot younger, I didn't recognize it at that time, what was happening to me. So yes, I have the information and I knew it, but to be able to calm myself enough to have, like what I pray for, God, I thank you for perfect recall. To be able to have that in that moment was an extreme challenge. How did I overcome it? I had my mom with me that morning and we prayed together. And when she dropped me off, she said, go get your bar license. That stayed with me. And that's what I had to do.
And you passed it on the first try?
I did not. I missed it by 6 points the first time. And when I got the results, I cried for the entire day. And I wanted to cry the next day. And then I had my mom there and she said, "What are you doing? Once that next box of tissue is cleared out, you dry your tears. You take a break and you get back to studying." And I said, "Mom, you're being insensitive and you don't understand. And I've been preparing for the, here I am going on this huge temper tantrum. Mom, you don't get it." And my brother, one of my brothers, he's also an attorney. And he passed on the first try, aced it. He's a genius. I have to study. He never had to study. He can just sit down for a test and he could just ace it. I don't have that. That wasn't my gifting, right? I have to actually prepare. But then I listened to my mom. And when that next box of tissue was done, she's like, "I'm not buying any more, and you better not bring any more in this house either." You get yourself up and you get to work. And so I rolled up my sleeves. I was still mad. Like, she's making me get back to work and I don't want to. I passed. I aced it the second time. And it was a feeling of, "Dad, I know you're with me." My oldest brother's name is Benny. "Benny, I know you're with me. More importantly, God, I know you're with me." And he was with me when I felt as though I was in the valley. When, people were calling you, people who you went to law school with for the last 3 years, they're calling you. "Hey, did you pass?" "I passed. Did you?" And they're sending text messages. "Did you pass?" And I was slow to respond at first because you feel, I'm going to speak for me. I felt embarrassed. I felt hurt. I felt ashamed. I felt all of the range of emotions that one can feel. Disappointed. What do I do next? I'm not good enough. Other people are doing it. Maybe this isn't for me. Let me start second guessing myself. Oh, wait, now the devil is a liar. I went through 3 years of law school. No. So once you are able to settle in, and that can translate to any area of life. Once you are in what I call a valley situation or a really difficult time, and you feel and you start to question, is this for me? If you have peace about it and you've prayed about it and you know that God has you in this area or in this path for a reason, no matter how difficult it gets, stay the course. Because as I tell the people on my channel, my family members, I will see you on the other side of victory. And it's yours. You just stay the course.
Well, and again, God does not make mistakes. You finished out and you said, "And I aced it." Now, here's the thing that I jotted down. It was, let me see, we moved to Florida in 2004. Let me see, what year? So that would have been 2001 or 2002. I had a standard personal trainer certification. I know y'all can't tell now, but that was then. I have proof, right? I had a standard personal trainer certification, but I wanted the full, so I wanted a nationally accredited one. That way I could take it and go, anywhere, start my own business or go to the top gyms, like Gold's gyms. And those were the big places to be back then. And I sat for the exam, and it was the ACE exam. I missed it by 6 points. And
I know that feeling.
People that had told me, they said, "This is how you'll know. When you go check the mail, if you have a big envelope, you know you made it. If you have an envelope that looks like a check, those ones that they send, that's a problem." So every day I'm checking the mail. Yeah. So we're heading out to eat dinner one night, and I'm like, wait, let's stop and check the mail one more time. So I open the mailbox, and I'm telling you, Yolanda, tears, I didn't even have to pull it out.
You didn't.
And my friend that was with me, she was like, give it to me. I'm like, you don't even have to open it. People have already told me.
Yes.
And I just stood there at the mailbox just in tears, feeling defeated. Because taking that, I'll say for me, taking that personal trainer certification, it was, to me, I took it seriously. I knew even the muscles and the bones, the muscles in the ears, every part,
Yes.
because it
Yes.
wasn't just about telling people to do, okay, do 12 push-ups, do, crunches. Dealing with people that had different illnesses and ailments, you have to think for them. You just can't have them doing any kind of thing. So I took it like I'm about to be a doctor, right? I have to know
Yes.
what I'm doing. And so I just felt so defeated. But the
Yes.
thing that really uplifted me was when I went back to the gym, the instructor that I'd been studying and training and stuff with, he said, I'm not supposed to say this. He said, but I can see that you're struggling. He said, hold your head up and take it again. He said, because you scored. He said, even though you didn't fail, you scored in the top 3 highest out of the Midwest region.
Wow.
And so
Come on.
I'm like, oh, okay. Even in fact, so I looked at it, remember in university when the scores would be so low, they would grade on the bell curve. And
The
it
bell
reminded
curve.
me of
Yes.
that time when I scored a 17 on my history exam. And that 17 happened to be a B plus. And I'm like,
Mm.
praise God.
Well, praise the
Because it
Lord.
was,
Oh, don't we
thank
all
God
have those
for,
stories?
right. So, we just have to get ourselves to that point where we pick ourselves back up, no matter,
Yes.
that knockdown. And so just like, in your favorite sport, week after week after week, I know it has to be going through their head. What do you think the players are thinking after that last week? Not only when they pass the Steelers fans like, yeah, it's still current, so that type of
Hmm.
encouragement. So if Harbaugh right now got wind that we were on, what encouragement would you give them right now to keep their head up, even in the midst of the loss?
Now, that is a really um, interesting question because I'm from the deep South, and my family believes in tough love. My mother, she is 4 feet 11 on a really good day, and that's if she stands up straight. Little bitty thing, but will tell you what you need to know. She has no problem speaking her mind, never has. And as refined as she is, as sweet as she is, pastor's wife, all those years, she has no problem telling you, baby, this is not it. It's not working. You need to do something else. So I would have to adapt a little bit of what my mother does. She's a lot more, how can I say it, than I am. She has a way about her. I don't have children of my own. And my mom, she has, myself and I have 4 older brothers. And having raised a house full of children, she's still sweet and she still has that nurturing side where I might not have it as much as she does. And so for her, she's able to tell you what you need to know, but do it in a loving way. So I would really try to have that type of conversation with John Harbaugh and the Ravens to say, baby, what you're doing is just not working. We need to regroup and reassess and re-strategize. Let's go into the office and recalibrate. See, that's how my mom probably would have presented it. Me, I'm more vocal, and I probably would say, team, what are you doing? This doesn't make sense. Did you really think that you were going into Pittsburgh with this type of game plan? Now explain this to me. Help me to understand what you were thinking in the moment. See, and so I'm more vocal, like I said before, than my mom is. So I would try my best to be able to calmly and concisely and sweetly present my best argument as to why what they're doing is not working and they really need to go back and start all over again.
All I can hear in my head right now is Hendo. Somebody needs to be brought up on an indictment for this. This man needs to go before the court and explain
Yes.
to the court why you make these type of.
He said
Lord, please
they
don't
need
let
to
me
go
get
before
tickled.
Congress. Go before Congress And I said, Harbaugh needs to go before Congress for what? He said, and he needs to explain. How is it that he's had these winning teams all these years and he can't win a Super Bowl? So, yes. Mhm.
Oh man,
Yeah, the
God be
Ravens have some work
praised.
to do. We do. I love my team. I love the Baltimore Ravens. I really do. And we have Lamar Jackson, who is, I'm going to say, the best quarterback in the NFL, if not the best top two. An argument can be made about Patrick Mahomes over in the Chiefs. But I just feel like we are squandering the opportunity with him. We're just not getting it right in terms of what we need to do to push us over the hump and just kind of get us to that Super Bowl and win it all. We'll
What
see
school?
if the Ravens can
Now
turn
what?
it around.
Now you said he was from Florida. What school did he come from? Was it the Gators or the Knowles?
No, he actually went to college in Louisville, Kentucky, but he's from,
What?
I think it's either Palm Beach or he's from the South Florida area. So he's from not too far out of like Fort Lauderdale area, Palm Beach. He's from around there.
Oh, okay. I was getting ready to say, well,
Pompano
wait,
Beach. I'm pretty sure it's Pompano Beach now that I think about it. It could be Pompano Beach, but it's somewhere in that area.
that's a nice area too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where he's
Hendo
from.
says
I have
send
to
a
Google I have to
subpoena.
Google it to be sure. But yeah. There he goes. Hendo, send the subpoenas. No, do not send the subpoenas. Do not. Leave Harbaugh alone.
Oh, and Delisa says, thank you so much, Yolanda, for your kind words and encouragement. God is so good. He led me
Oh,
to Taurus channel on 8 prayer watches. I thought it was just for me, but the Holy Spirit has drawn Apollo as well. And I just love the fact when she tells me this 11-year-old is sitting here, he is determined. If he does not listen before school, he is going to listen to the morning broadcast before he
love
goes
that.
to bed. So that's why I say that is my upcoming deacon. I know it.
I love that. I love that. That is so sweet. Such a blessing.
Let's see. Delisa says, I had a similar experience. Dropped out senior year in college. Came back 10 years later to finish what I started. Applied to do student teaching. Didn't pass math. God led me to another field and finished the course.
I love that. That's when you know. That's when you know, Delisa, that you're on the right track. You know, God does not close one door without opening another.
Amen.
Always. There's always provision for you.
That is so true. And now I want to roll into halftime adjustments, the art of the pivot. And you know, I just talked about the pivot the other morning. A lot of us, we get stuck. Because just as you said, basically, that could have went into your message to Harbaugh, right? You need to know when to pivot. It is important. And as growing up from 5th grade all the way through, and actually I went to university. That's what put me through junior college was a band scholarship. And also the first half of university when I transferred over was band scholarships because that was another thing under my hat. I was a music major. Well, I'll say was. That was my major, was music. And so we had to learn. There was a lot of marching. There was a lot of moving. You had to learn when to pivot. And if you did not, you're going to mess up your ankle at some point. So looking at halftime adjustments, the art of the pivot. Great
Right.
teams make strategic changes at halftime. Can you
Yes.
share a moment where life threw you a curveball and you had to pivot or reinvent yourself?
Life threw
And
me a
actually, I'm going to
curveball.
take reinvent off because I can't see. Yolanda has been Yolanda. So I'm going to take reinvent off when you had to pivot.
When I had to pivot. I would say I had to pivot when I moved here to the DMV area. And I always knew that I wanted to land here. I wanted to, land the plane here. But I did not realize exactly what I was getting. And it's a different culture. It's a different environment. It's just different from what I was used to. And I remember when my mom left and she started to cry and she came to visit me. And she said, you're up here, you're by yourself, you're a young lady. Don't you just want to move back home? I said, no, Mom, I don't. I don't. When I had to pivot was realizing I'm doing this now. I've made this move. and I'm doing it by myself, but I'm never alone. Although in this, at the time I was living in an apartment in right outside of Baltimore. And I said, although I'm in this apartment by myself, I'm not alone. And I had to pivot in my mindset because there were instances where I thought, maybe I should move back home. This is a lot. I didn't realize this was going to be such a challenge. And I started a new job here. I started, basically a new life. And I did it with just me for a while. And it was one of the most exciting challenges. I'll say it that way, to put it mildly. But I didn't know that, I didn't believe that I was ready once I got here. And there were thoughts that maybe I should move back home. Maybe I shouldn't be here. Maybe this is not where I'm supposed to be. So I had to pivot in my mindset to say, I understand that it might be uncomfortable. All of my friends were back home. All of my family was back home. And I was just out here without anyone. But it taught me to rely on me and to rely heavily and solely and exclusively on God for everything. I didn't know, I'd never driven in snow before. I had never, when I say I had to pivot, I had to learn how to navigate life in a world that was vastly different from the one that I had known. And so never having been outside of a place where I had family surrounding me, because even when I went to college, I was in Tallahassee at FAMU. Go Rattlers.
Hey.
All of my father is from Tallahassee. So although I was 3.5 hours away from home, I had all of my extended family there. All of my aunts, all of my cousins, all of my uncles, everyone. So and then after college, I moved back to Orlando. So I never had that moment of truth to say, you can do it. And for me, that was a really, really tough time where I had to pivot, at least in my mind, my mindset and the way I thought about what do I do from here.
Well, the thing that I pick up on, you said, I had to pivot in your mindset. And this may sound off, but I think a lot of the times when we say, okay, I need to make a change, we look at the physical form and we're like, okay, I'm going to have to move in this direction. But the biggest part of getting everything from here down to move is the pivot in the mindset. It is the key factor in it, reframing the thoughts. And as I pulled up, I was sitting down to have lunch and I opened my phone, and the first thing and I only had to chuckle. I said, I've never even seen anything football related come up. But of course, I'm talking to Yolanda tonight and this comes up. And the headline that I saw, Harbaugh says, we're going to keep Justin Tucker. So,
That's all.
in relation to the pivot in mindset, what are your thoughts? When I saw that and I looked and I'm like, well, wait a minute, maybe this is old, but it said no, this news was just posted about 6 hours ago. So I said, oh my, I'm definitely going to have to remember. So this is the perfect part to put in that question. What do you think about that non-pivot?
Oh, this is my biggest gripe with the Baltimore Ravens. Unless there is a shift in the mindset, unless there is a shift in the philosophy, the mentality that we need to make changes now if we are serious and want to win now. We have a lot of what we need to be extremely successful this year, but we're still lacking in certain areas. And when I hear John Harbaugh say time after time after time, we're good. We are rolling with our guys. We've got it. We believe in our guys. We know that they can do it. We are confident in them. It's just a matter of them going out and doing it. And when you hear that repeatedly as a fan, you say, okay, well, this is going to be the week that we see improvement, and then you don't. And for Justin Tucker, who has been a kicker for the Baltimore Ravens for many years, many years, and he's always been what they call Mr. Money. Like when he kicks a field goal or he kicks an extra point, it's always 100%. He could do it with his eyes closed. Well, not this year. He's been missing field goal after field goal after field goal. And I don't like to put all of the blame on him because it is a team sport. But if a game comes down to a 3-point score and you have to put Justin Tucker out there right now, not Justin Tucker a year ago, not Justin Tucker 2 years ago, but Justin Tucker today, November 2024, what's the likelihood of him making that field goal? Well, the probability ain't so great because he's not been doing very well this year. So for John Harbaugh to continue to say, and I think he said in a presser the other day, the question was asked, are you looking for possible, replacements or other suitors who can maybe come in and like do the job at kicker? And he said, no, really haven't crossed that bridge. I'm paraphrasing, but basically his answer was just what you read, Tora. We believe in Justin Tucker. Well, that makes one of us because I don't right now. So,
and I've only been following a short time, and let me tell you, I don't either. I said there needs to be a pivot. Something, as I play in the morning time, something is wrong here. Dead giveaway. Charles, something is wrong here.
Exactly. And so if we can recognize that you have to sometimes take what's in front of you, and I'm very evidence-based, right? So that's what I am. I'm looking at the evidence. What does the data reflect? The data reflects that he continues to miss field goals more than he's making them. Well, how confident am I in Justin Tucker right now? I'm not very confident. Not at all. And in a
now,
very
in regards
close
to
game,
the pivot, though, could it be comfort or complacency or familiar, and you just become so relaxed till you're like, if I do, I don't. But could it be, how little times we get a little bit overconfident in ourselves and don't realize when it's time to again make that pivot, go back and retrain ourselves, because he's been kicking for them a long time. So how can we line that up for those that are listening to say sometimes we just have to sit down and take our playbook out and see what is not working? What would you say to that?
I would say to that, it starts with being honest with oneself. You can't live in a state of denial, and you can't live in a state of disbelief. You have to evaluate what's in front of you for what it is. And in this situation, when you have the evidence showing that time after time, we put Justin Tucker on the field, and for this season, more often than not, more likely than not, he's missing field goals at a range that is well within his capability. 50 yards, 47 yards. He currently holds I think he kicked the farthest field goal, I want to say 56 yards, or maybe it's greater than that, I don't remember. But he holds the record, and I'll have to look that up, but he holds the record for the longest or the most amount of yards in terms of a successful field goal. And now he can't even make one that's 15, 20 yards shorter than what he's made 3-4 years ago. So with that said, the first thing you have to do is be honest and say, this isn't working. Thank you, Hendo, 66. He holds the record of 66 yards, but yet he misses from 45, 47, 50, where in 2 or 3 years ago, he was able to make a 66-yarder with ease. So if you look at the data and you look at the evidence in front of you, the first thing John Harbaugh has to do is to be accountable. And that's something that I've not seen as a fan from him, being accountable as the leader of this team and being aggressive enough and being confident enough to address the issues that continue to plague this team.
Well, and one of the things, there was a quote that I'd heard about a month ago, and it really stuck with me. And it sounds like maybe if someone could slip it in a note. So if anybody out there happens to know Harbaugh and want to send him a text or just send him a link to this, and the quote that I heard was, one of the biggest problems that we have, as you said, be real with ourselves about, is that we put hope and faith in people for who we want them to be instead of who they are.
Yes.
So it sounds like maybe he has that same hope and faith in the abilities that he used to have as opposed to where he's at now, and something needs to be evaluated.
I think that too, but I will also add, you have to be willing to put pride aside. Pride is something that is just so detrimental. And when you are too proud to admit that you've made a mistake, or you are too proud to admit that you didn't get it quite right, that's a problem. And as the leader of the team, therein lies an issue that I see from John Harbaugh, is lack of accountability. He did take some accountability yesterday in a press conference because the Baltimore Ravens this year have been the most penalized team in the league. Every play, just about, you hear the whistle, you see the flag, you see the flag, there's a penalty on the play. Well, who's the penalty on? You don't even have to worry. It's against the Ravens. Because that's just how undisciplined we've been. To me, that falls directly on the coach, the head coach. It's up to you to make sure that you clean up the mistakes, the messes. And I would be okay if it were the first, second, maybe third week in the season, because you still have time to grow and you still have time to learn. We are now going into week 12, and we're still seeing those same types of mistakes. So unless we see changes in John Harbaugh trickling down to his coaching staff and then to the players, I don't know. We're a great team, but even a great team can falter.
Wow. And I hope, did you guys hear how many nuggets that she just dropped in that? Nuggets of pure wisdom, and it just really drives home, the things that we go through each morning. Wisdom plays a part in every single choice, in every single step that we make. If there's not wisdom behind it, the foundation is shaky, especially in football. It's just not going to come together. So as we shift into this next segment, grace and redemption on the field, right? The comeback story, rising from the underdog position. So
Yes.
the greatest stories in sports are often about the underdog's comeback. Can you walk us through a moment in your life where you felt outmatched or underestimated?
I will say, in the legal profession, knowing that there is a very small percentage of attorneys who look like me, knowing that the number of trial attorneys that look like me was something that I had to grapple with. But one thing about me, I didn't grapple with it for long, because my mom tells the story all the time. Ever since I was 4 years old, I told my mom I was going to be a lawyer. I didn't even know what that was at 4. I don't know if I saw it on television somewhere, but I started telling her that this is what I was going to do. And I've always been what my mom calls, or my dad used to call me, very mouthy. So, even as a kid, so no surprise there, I was the one that you told me something, I'm like, how do you know that? I'm going to challenge you. Prove it. Tell me how do you, don't just tell me something. I need to know how you arrived at the conclusion. So
You're getting understanding. You're doing
I need it.
exactly what
I need to.
Proverbs. You just didn't realize it.
Right.
You were getting understanding and asking more questions.
There you go. That's right. That's exactly right. So um, realizing that no, my career that I chose, even at an early age, before I understood what it would mean for me, there were times where I would question, do I have what it takes? Am I enough? Is this right for me? And in those moments of questioning, and this goes for any area of life, in those moments of questioning, pray. Once you have a peace about the decision, once you know this is what I'm supposed to do, you do it, and you do it boldly. You don't let fear grip you. And that's not easy. I recognize it's easier to be afraid than it is to be courageous. And I will say that for anyone listening, if there's something that's in your heart to do, it's not going away until you do it. So don't worry. That's okay. Keep going. Take it one step at a time. One thing that was told to me after I lost my dad was, someone said to me, you take it day by day. And if that becomes too much, you take it hour by hour. If that becomes too much, you take it minute by minute. And in life, I apply that because sometimes the vicissitudes of life can weigh you down and they can become so heavy that you don't know what your next step is going to be. You feel like giving up, you're tired, you want to throw the towel in, but that's okay. Take your time, take a moment, take a step back. Remember who you are, and you've got it.
Wow, and Delisa's agreeing. She said that is so true. It won't go away. Exactly. Evaluate and remediate the greatest battle in our mind. Be willing to be honest with yourself and willing to make those changes. And welcome to Big Cuz 410.
Because thank you for being here. Yes, that is a Ravens extraordinaire himself. Thank you for being here.
And then we know that, after the setbacks or, the comebacks and pushing through, there's still going to be fumbles in life. So, and in football, a fumble can change the momentum of a game in a heartbeat. And I heard you talking about those the other day when I was listening. And man, like, how did that happen? How does this consistently happen, right? But it can also set the stage for a greater comeback, right? So, is there a significant setback, that you can share and how you transform that into a stepping stone for growth? And maybe your team can pick up on this.
Yeah. I mean, there have been many instances where, whether it's been a job I applied for that I didn't get, that I thought I should absolutely be the best candidate for this job. I just knew I was getting the job. Or it could have been a promotion to which I applied for and I didn't get. I'm like, wait a minute, why not? When you have those moments in life, and you can call them a fumble, you have to learn how, in football, if you fumble the ball, there's a such thing as recovery. It's bad enough that you fumbled the ball, meaning you dropped it. But you need to be so sharp and so crisp and so on point that you are able to recover the fumble, or your team, if not you, your teammate needs to be able to recover the fumble. Because what happens if the other team gets the ball? You now turn the tide of the momentum. So in life where I felt a fumble, like, oh gosh, I didn't get this or I didn't get that, I had to be sharp enough to say, I'm going to recover. I'm going to pick myself up. I'm going to square my shoulders and I'm going to keep going. And I'm not going to allow something that is in opposition to me to get the better of me. It might take the wind out of my sail for a moment, but I'm going to be able to recover. The Ravens need to learn how to do that. These two fumbles this past Sunday just didn't make any sense.
When I was out and I was running errands, I actually headed out early in the day. And so I didn't even have access, but I just knew when I stepped in that it was a done deal. And when I sat down and, got everything put away and I sat down and I opened the laptop and and I'm like,
That's how I felt. Oh, gosh. And, and I'm trying my hand at live streaming the game, and Hendo is so gracious to do it with me because, I don't know, but I'm watching the game and I'm like, okay, I have to compose myself. I have to hold it all together because when I'm not live streaming, I'm just watching the game, excuse me, at home. I'm yelling at the television. I'm screaming at them like, what are you guys doing? What's going on? Don't you know better? And I'm trying to not do that during the game if I'm live streaming. But yeah, it's a game where I hear all the time, football is a game of inches. And one critical mistake, and that's it. You come in second place. I heard that years ago, like when I was, young in my career, and I had my first or second trial and I didn't win. And I went to, my supervisor's office and just wanted to talk about it. And they're like, how did you do? I said, well, we lost. And she's like, no, don't ever say that. You came in second place. I said, you know what? That's a great way to look at it. I came in second place. So, Sunday, the Baltimore Ravens came in second place to the Steelers.
Man.
I know.
That was
We
tough,
play them again. We play them again in December. They are a division rival, so we will see them again next month. Hopefully, prayerfully, some changes will have been made. Some redirections will occur, and we'll have a better outcome.
Like I said, I'm riding with you in the flock. I'm hanging in here to see what happens. And so as we move into, and I know our time has gotten away from us. I know you're on Eastern Standard. You're ahead of me, right?
Yes.
So I don't want to keep you up late. You have great works to go out and do tomorrow. But I want to touch quickly on, the plant-based living and wellness. You have adopted a vegetarian lifestyle. So what initially inspired you to go plant-based? Because on game day, most people, it's the wings and, everything laid out, and that's it, the wings, the meat pizzas, all that different stuff. So what is, how did you make that transition?
It started with dairy. So I was in college and I wanted a milkshake. And I tell you what, that's when I realized I was lactose intolerant, just couldn't stomach dairy. And it became, harder and harder for me to consume dairy products without some type of adverse consequence. And I'll leave it right there. But, and then I said, I don't want to feel like this. Sure, I enjoy eating a bowl of ice cream, or sure, I love to have, like I said, a banana split or something like that. But I did not like how I felt after. So that was back in my undergraduate years. From there, I started doing research and giving up dairy, and is it sustainable, and how do you do it? And from there, I just decided, I said, okay, I learned about plant-based living and plant-based eating and how you can still thrive and how you can get your nutrients, your vital nutrients, how a life that is centered around eating whole foods and whole grains can be so rewarding for you and so nutritious. And not only that, not boring. Because let's be honest, when you sit down to eat, do you want to eat something boring or plain or like, like this? There are certain vegetables I just can't tolerate. I just don't like them. Brussels sprouts. My mom loves them. I can't stand them. But I know they're good for you. I don't make them. I don't eat them. But I found other ways to incorporate vegetables and get the nutrients And so that's kind of what my second channel is about. I have not been on my second channel in a while, but I do plan, I do plan to revive my second channel very soon.
And I look forward to it. And I can't remember if I know I have the Ravens channel in the description, but I will be sure to go back and put all of the other contact info and the plant based channel in there because, right now, that's a really important component of just day to day.
Yes.
And you said something that someone was quoting Richard Simmons a few weeks ago in the philosophy, and they said they really adopted that mindset because it's okay. I like this, and if I eat it right now, I'm gonna feel great. But do I want to feel great tomorrow? Because if I eat this now, it's going to affect me tomorrow. And so you just
Yes.
end up in that cycle, when you do. So it's best to just say, oh man, that's my that put the it's only a few things that put the pause in me.
Okay.
That's my daughter popping up. She caught the last 20-ish minutes exactly what I needed to hear about fear and mindset.
Awesome.
Man, so it's just so important, and consistency is key. So staying on track, with such a busy schedule. And I mean, I've seen you say, hold on, Hendo, I got to open my green juice, and you're like, I got to get my green juice. Yolanda's on, and the guys, they can have whatever beverage they have in their hand. But again, Yolanda's staying true to Yolanda, and she's like, I'm opening my green juice. You guys carry on. So, with your busy schedule, what advice would you give someone that's looking to transition into that healthier lifestyle?
The advice I would give you, the advice I would give you is take small steps to set yourself up for success. Because the last thing you want to do is make a drastic change. I'm not going to eat any meat. I'm not going to eat any dairy. And then 2, 3, 4 days in, you're miserable. And then you go back to eating meat or dairy and you say, see, I tried it. I can't do it. I gave it a whirl. I tried for a couple of days. And then after that, it was just terrible. Start out small. I like to say, replace 1 to 2 meals a day with plant-based. So if in the morning, for example, you do something like eggs, bacon, or sausage, maybe replace it with a protein smoothie and some avocado toast. In
That's
the
good.
protein smoothie, I have it every day. It's the same thing every day. It is, and I use frozen fruits. So it's frozen cranberry, frozen strawberry, frozen pineapple, and acai. And then in addition to that, I will add hemp seeds, chia seeds, flaxseed, and vegan protein powder. It is something that I cannot imagine not having. And when I went to Creator Camp, I almost packed my little travel blender to take with me, but I didn't. I said, okay, I can go a week without it. But it's just so amazing how your body responds to not having what it's accustomed to. So I would say to someone just wanting to get started, maybe try to replace 1 meal a day and graduate to maybe 2 meals a day, where you replace dairy and or meat with something plant-based.
That's really smart idea too because I know for me I usually like either oatmeal or grits or something, but then I know and we know our bodies, but the
Yeah.
thing about it is if I make that bowl of oatmeal between 8:30 and 9 and I eat somewhere between 8:30 and 9:30,
Mhm.
by 10:30 I'm over at this other desk over here and I'm going down. It does something, it brings me down. It gets into my blood sugar, so it's one of
Sure.
the things that I can't have. And so actually over the weekend, we already had one, but my daughter makes her smoothie each morning, so I bought me another NutriBullet. So we get home and I'm all excited about starting the next day, but guess what? I forgot to get at Costco.
What
The
did you
fruit.
forget? The
The
fruit.
fruit. to go in it. So the nice NutriBullet is sitting there, but there's two things I actually need to return to Costco. So I'm like, okay, I'll just pick up the fruit when I go back. But I do find that the lighter that I eat, the lighter that my meals and my breakfast and stuff are, the more I can stay focused. Because if I take in anything before that midday point, it is a wrap for me. And I'm saying, look, I'm typing in Teams. I'm going to take a 15-minute nap. I will be back.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
I just want to, I really want to respect your time. So can I have like 10, maybe 15 more minutes?
I think we can do that.
Okay.
I think we can do
So with this question here, the game-winning drive, trusting the path forward. The most exhilarating moments in football are often the game-winning drives. Can you tell us about a time when you had to completely surrender control and trust the process?
I've given a couple of examples that I think are befitting here. When I did not pass the bar exam the first time and feeling defeated, feeling angry, hurt, especially when I know the amount of studying and preparation that I put into it, and being just 6 points shy of the goal. That is something that I always carry with me, because at the time, I didn't understand why. But now, fast forward several years, it allows me to have compassion, and it allows me to extend grace, because I remember what it felt like when for me, we didn't open a letter in the mail. We saw our results on the computer. I remember that feeling, that moment when I learned that I had not passed the bar. So it has taught me through the years to try to always remember that there might be someone going through something. You might not know it. They might not ever say it, but it could be just something kind that you say to that person that might really make the world of difference for them. So going through a very difficult time, and even as I mentioned with losing my father too, going through very difficult times has allowed me to, my heart to not become callous and not forget those moments where I felt incredibly sad or vulnerable or hurt. And now I can have compassion for someone else.
Wow. Thank you so much, Yolanda. And you guys see the spirit that I was talking about. This is what you're witnessing. She's just so, I can't even figure, I know the word will come to me after, or the Holy Spirit will give it to me before, but it's just such a calm and just peaceful spirit. And I cannot wait until Creator Camp. I am waiting on that to open up. And if they do not put us on the same team, I am forming a coup. I am going. So I want to quickly go into the blitz round. Your fast-paced answers here. What's one daily habit that sets the tone for your day? And I think you already told us, but what's one daily habit that sets the tone for your day?
Prayer.
Favorite scripture that grounds you in tough moments?
But thou, O Lord, art a shield for me, my glory, and the lifter of my head.
Most memorable Ravens game and why?
The San Francisco 49ers last year, because all of those people were chirping that we were going to lose against the 49ers, and the 49ers were going to blow the Ravens out, and we hadn't really faced a good team yet, and we just shut them down. So that would be the one.
Wow. Your biggest challenge as a trial attorney that you just go in and shut it down?
Biggest challenge as a trial attorney is to be able to separate emotion from fact and evidence. because when I started my career, there was there was a lot of challenges that I faced in terms of being able to not, as a former prosecutor, to not get too deeply connected, but to be able to separate that, but to also manage to have human compassion, but to stay focused enough on the task set before me.
Wow. Sum up your spiritual journey in one word.
Whew. Usually not at a loss of words, but my spiritual journey in one word.
You see this, Hendo? Let heaven and earth record.
Let it record that I can be silenced. Okay. One word. Okay, before I give the word, okay, I'm trying to think because I really want it to be accurate. I'm going to go with beautiful.
Your go-to plant-based comfort food.
Vegan pizza. I make the best vegan pizza. You've got
Cauliflower
to come by.
crust.
Come on by Thanksgiving. Well, I'm not going to make it for Thanksgiving, but come by sometime after Thanksgiving. I'll make you a vegan pizza. I promise you. You will not.
All right, now when I get on a plane and mount up to Be-More now, I'm going to be like, Yolanda. The most influential person in your life.
Presently, my mom.
All 4'11" of her.
Oof.
The best piece of advice you've received.
To thine own self, be true.
And your favorite quote or mantra.
I have so many of them.
If you could only speak one for the rest of your life, and they said we will only allow, you can only repeat this. This is the only one that you can verbally say out.
You are enough.
And how do you unwind?
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay. Because so many times we fail to remember that. Because life comes and it will beat us down if we allow it. So please always remember, no matter what, you are enough. Always remember that.
And that was the title of my last at Sandra's church and also Vanessa's church, Greater Randolph, there in San Antonio. The last time I actually was in the pulpit, actually giving the message. That was the title of my sermon for Women's Day. You are enough.
Yes.
And how do you unwind after a busy day?
I like to sleep. I am a sleeper. So some people are like, I don't sleep good. Like I can take a nap and then I can wake up, I can go exercise, do something else, and then I can come back home and later that night I'm going to sleep just fine. It's not, it's not going to ruin my sleep pattern at all. If I can't sleep, then something's wrong. If I tell you I couldn't sleep, something's wrong.
After this, when we come together, we're going to have to do one of those, what's that thing called where you do the genealogy test? Because somewhere down the blood, even down to like the crowds, and I know Doc says, there's no such thing as introvert, extrovert. Look, even though I'm behind this camera, this is where I'm most comfortable. I can go out, but, and stand in front of crowds and people, and speak and do all of these things. But I'm really now at such a peace and point in my life where I just like my solitude. I can spend days on end in this studio or over in my room, so just the crowds, and it's just even thinking about October 2025 Creator Camp, I'm already mentally preparing for the stimulation that is going to come from that,
Yes.
So it's just so many different things. But here's the last one. It's November the 25th. The LA Chargers versus the Baltimore Ravens. And Harbaugh gets a message. Yolanda's here. And he says, no, I need her. Bring her through the tunnel to talk to this team. What do you say for encouragement to those who are listening but speaking to your team at the same time?
I would just leave them with a question. I'd make a statement first, and then I'd leave them with a question. I believe in you. Do you?
Powerful.
Oh, and then I would probably tell them, don't y'all go out there and embarrass me. I flew all this way out here. Don't go and embarrass me. That was a long plane ride, and I don't like planes. I flew out here. Come out with the win.
And you know, my very first trip, I didn't take my first flight. I think I was 30, 35, 36. It was actually to Baltimore, Maryland, actually to Bowie, Maryland for a conference. And I'm telling you, I had nodded off. And when the flaps came down, and it was only like 4 of us on the plane, first time I've flown. And when I heard this sound that I'd never heard in my life, I woke up and I just started going into panic. Lord, we're going down. I'm going down. I knew I shouldn't have got on here. Lord, I'm going down over DC. This is it.
Oh.
This is it. Right? And my friend was like, Tora,
It's okay.
that's the front gear. That's the front tire coming down.
It's the
It's
front,
okay.
front wheel.
It is okay. It's okay. It's the landing gear.
It's a landing
Calm
gear.
down. But, you know,
Yeah.
that's one of my fondest memories. But, you know, it was such a beautiful area up there. And I look forward to being able to come back again. And especially now, since I know that I have a friend there. And I want to say, I want that genealogy test, because there has to be something somewhere in the line. And just real quick, Delisa says, really enjoyed the live, very encouraging and informative. Prayers for God to abundantly bless and increase you, Tori and Yolanda, in every way, in Jesus' mighty name. And Yolanda is in agreement with that. And also, you know, San is vegetarian as well. She's been for how many years now? 6, 7 years. So she was saying that in regards to these smoothies. So if you guys, you know, don't have any last minute questions, I'm going to wrap it up. And Yolanda, I just thank you so much for this heartfelt discussion and just getting to know you a little bit more. And just, you know, thank you for sharing your heart, your wisdom and insights with us today, because this conversation, it reminds us that whether we're on the field, or in the courtroom, or in our personal lives, it's about how we respond to challenges with grace, with faith, and resilience. And Yolanda has shared all of those things with us. And so to our listeners, don't miss out on following Yolanda's journey. Tune into her channel, Ravens Talk with Yolanda, for all things Baltimore Ravens, and also Life with Y for that plant-based inspiration. Heaven and Earth is recorded this. She has said she's going to go back over and she's going to update some stuff on the channel. Be sure to follow her. I will put all of her information in the description under the video after the live. But remember, success is just around the corner if you don't quit.
Yes.
Keep the faith, stay strong, and let's continue cheering each other on, both on the field and off the field. And until next time, family, you know how I close it out. Walk good, do good, be good. Tornado and Yolanda, we're out.